In this lesson, we are going to be doing a lick of the week in the style of Steve Cropper. I've taken these licks from the original Soul Man tune by Sam and Dave. Steve Cropper, however, did play on both the Sam and Dave version and the Blues Brothers version. Steve Cropper is a well-known R&B, soul, blues kind of guitar player. And there's a lot of techniques too, specifically in these licks that I want to show you that are pretty prominent in R&B and soul bluesy type tunes. So I thought this would be a good one to do. So the first thing is the intro. This whole idea So let's learn it, and then we'll talk about it, what it is and how it relates to the chords underneath, okay? So it's the 5th fret. I'm going to use, you can use your 1st and 2nd fingers for these, or your 2nd and 3rd. I don't know why I like to use my 2nd and 3rd. It doesn't really matter. But you're going to start, it's G string and E string. And basically what we're doing is playing the 5th and the 3rd of the major chords underneath, okay? And I'll explain that more once we learn it. So, 5th fret, G string. You're going to slide to the 7th fret. And then you're going to pluck the 7th fret, E string. So you can use your pick. You can do a hybrid picking. I'm doing a hybrid picking. So I'm plucking with my 2nd finger the E string. Then you hit the 7 on the G again. Then you hit both of them and slide back to the 5s. So, and then there you hit E, G, E. So it's, okay, from there you slide from the 5th up to the 10th. So, and then from there, 10 to 12. And then 12 again on the G, then both to 14s, and then you hit both 14s at the end. So real slow. And then we're off and running, okay? So that lick, the chords underneath are G, 2, 3, 4 to F, 2, 3, 4 to B flat, 2, 3, 4 to C, and then D. So 1, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, B flat, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, D, 2. And then the song's in G, so it's building us up to the G. The last chord of that little intro is D, which is the 5, the 5th of the key of G, and that's the natural kind of cadence back to the 1 chord of G. So what he's doing underneath of each of those chords is he's outlining the 5th degree and the 3rd degree. A major chord is made up of root, 3rd, and 5th. So a G, root, 3rd, and 5th is, if you play your major scale, G, 1, that's your root, 2, 3, 4, the 3 is B, so 1 is G, 3 is B, the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is D. So he's playing 5th and 3rd, no root. So we said that the 5th was D and the 3rd was B. So he's playing that right here. So that's D, and that's B, okay? Root, 5th and 3rd, okay? This is really common. So an easy way to find that, if you're, improvising and soloing a lot and you know all your scale patterns. So for a G, if you play pentatonic minor, like a blues scale. And then we go into that second position. There's your fifth, right there. And the third is there. That note's not in a pentatonic minor, but since we base so much of our soloing off of pentatonic minor and just add that major third in now and again, it's right there. Flat third, root, major third, or regular third. So that's how you can find it. So he's doing that for every chord. There's your G. Then when he goes to F, he goes back to the fives. That's fifth and third of F. Then he goes to B flat. That's where you slide up to the 10. And then the C is here, and D is here. Okay, fifth of C is G, and the third is E. So so that concept, you can take that, you know, playing the fifth and the third on the G and E strings, and apply that anytime you're soloing. Apply it to the chord underneath, and you can create these little melodic lines as well. So okay, so that's that. Now the chord part that he's playing in the verse. So this is another really common concept in R&B and soul. The guitar player, you know, there's usually, not always, but in those kind of bands, there's kind of a lot more stuff going on. You got horns and organ and piano, and it's usually a bigger ensemble than just like a rock band. So the guitar, they don't play a lot of big full chords, you know, like that, like big open chords. It's mainly higher stuff to stay out of the way of the bass. So you have these chord shapes that are parts of full chords. So if you take, say, for example, your G major bar chord with the root on the E string here. He's just playing the top part of that, the higher notes of that. So if you look, I'm going to keep the third there, and I'm going to keep the, so the G, I'm sorry, the third of G. This is the third of G. And then I'm playing the fifth and the root. So it's kind of part of this chord, but he's not even playing that. So he's just playing that little shape for a major chord, root being here. So he does that, he hits that twice. And there's a lot of dead notes involved here to keep the rhythm going. So I'm doing down, down, and then another downstroke as a dead note, and then on my upstroke is the next time I hit. So, sorry. And it's real staccato usually. It's not like, it's not like that, but like real short notes. That's what kind of creates the groove of these old R&B tunes. Okay, then I'm sliding up to this shape. It's like a D major chord shape. But if you slide all the way up to here, guess what it is? It's G. Same as this. That's a G. This is a G. It's a different voicing though, and it does sound a little different. Okay? It's third, root, fifth. Remember our fifth and third thing from the intro? Now you're just adding the root note back in. Like that. So we have down, up, down. Down, up, down. Then we go back to here. And that's kind of implying a C, okay? Or you could say it's an A minor, because you are playing the A, but it's part of a C chord too, like this C chord. But A minor's in the key of G, so that works too. And you go back to this shape, so it's... Now what I do a lot to keep the groove going is I just keep my strum hand going in this pattern. Whoops. So I'm just keeping it going and dead noting whatever doesn't need to be accented. So real slow. That's what it would sound like. Great lick. Really kind of common, again, concept used in R&B. These, like you're staying on the same chord, but you're using different voicings of that chord to make it move, add some movement. Because otherwise, if you were just going... I mean, you could do that, wouldn't sound bad, but it's not near as interesting and cool as that. It's really, I mean, if you were playing it full chords, that's what it would sound like. But that would take up way too much spectrum of sound in that kind of ensemble. So he plays it up high, and he plays these smaller voicings up high, and within that you can move. It becomes like a lead guitar part, but it's rhythm, but it's kind of leady because it has this movement and line in it. You know, you could probably... You know, I just created another line just using those same shapes but changing it up a little bit. So that's just an example of how you can use it in your own playing to come up with your own stuff. And you can use different voicings. I would encourage you to experiment with higher up voicings to create these chord-like lines instead of just going... Because again, that's not as interesting. Might take up too much space, and this just really sounds better. So there you have it. That's our lick of the week. Steve Cropper, R&B style from Soul Man.